Hey guys, welcome back to Age of Mythology Retold. The game has just officially released today, and I'm hyped for it. This game is one that I've been waiting years for, a remake of one of my favorite games of all time, Age of Mythology, which I am 100% ready to dive right into. To begin with this video, there's some very awesome new stuff to cover. Today, I bring you an overview of the new Norse god Freyr. This new god is included with the premium edition of the game, and this marks a really exciting milestone, being the first fundamentally new official addition to the roster of Age of Mythology in over 20 years. You could technically say 8 years because of the Tale of the Dragon expansion that came out in 2016 for Age of Mythology Extended Edition, and with it, the Chinese Pantheon. I personally have never played this expansion, and have never had an interest in doing so because it has largely been ridiculed and dismissed by AOM fans over the years, and from what I know isn't commonplace among those who competitively play Age of Mythology. So for me, this really is the first time in 2 decades that we've had the chance to experience brand new content in Age of Mythology. So, Freyr. Freyr is the god of fertility and kingship. The artistic portrayal of this god in Retold is faithful to some of his great mythological traits. He's backed by a boar, a sacred creature associated with Freyr, and is holding an antler as a weapon, representative of one of his most recognizable myths, in which he defeats a mythological Jotun with an antler. In-game, Freyr's legendary golden boar Gullinbursti makes up the first of his god bonuses, which is also his signature god power, simply called Gullinbursti, which allows you to target any allied town center and summon the boar to defend the area. Gullinbursti gets increasingly higher statistics every age, so is a powerful defensive force at any point in the game, and also just seems really damn strong on first impression. Human units at the very least get absolutely mopped by this thing. Freyr's second bonus is that all technologies are half price, but take 2.5 times longer to research. I'd be interested to know the actual ramifications of this bonus, since this is a very interesting trade-off. An example is that it allows military upgrades and armory techs to be very easily accessible, but it takes an extremely long time for them to actually affect your units, meaning that it's more difficult to rush upgrades and take good fights earlier in the game. An opponent can feasibly get their upgrades significantly faster, and Freyr might have a tough time fending off attacks that take advantage of a good timing like that. But he'll ultimately come out ahead if he can weather the storm because of the surplus of extra resources or upgrades that he'll have. His third bonus is his main military bonus, allowing all hill fort units to deal 10% more damage, so rams, huskarls, and the ballista. I suppose this might mean that Freyr is especially good against archer units and at sieging the enemy base from the heroic age onwards, considering the units that receive the buff. His last 2 bonuses are focused around repairing, making repairing buildings free and allowing gatherers and dwarves to repair. And I mean, this is going to make Freyr an absolute monster on the defense, having probably around half of his maximum population more than the other Norse players available to repair his buildings, with his villager units being able to do it, and on top of that, he has completely free repairs. That means that almost every unit he has available can be thrown onto a hill fort or town center under siege and repair it infinitely until the threat is taken care of, which is kind of insane. And that's all of his god bonuses, but before moving on to the real juicy stuff, Freyr has a unique technology called Freyr's Gift. It increases the hit points of all human soldiers and heroes by 25%, and the technology favor cost is reduced with each technology researched. This is a very strong tech, a huge stat boost that applies to all non-myth units, with the only drawback being that it's literally impossible to get early because of the huge initial favor cost. So this is a tech that you build up to in later ages that will ultimately make your army very strong later in the game. Freyr obviously is already strong defensively with his unique bonuses, and improving upon that defensive ability even more are the minor gods. Freyr has an entire new set of 3 minor gods as options to advance through, and here's where we get into the really awesome stuff. Further enhancing the strong defensive playstyle of Freyr's kit is Ullr, the god of oaths and archery. His god power is Asgardian Bastion, which summons a foundation that slowly materializes into a ghostly hill fort. It is statistically the same as a standard hill fort, and although it does take a very long time to construct, the building time can be shortened by using units to build it. Getting this fort up in the classical age establishes incredible map control, and I can see it getting enormous value defensively when playing for fast multiple town centers or just for defending in any other way, really. I think it's an awesome idea. The Ghost Fort isn't only good for defense though, as one of Ullr's unique techs, Idalier, allows portable rams to be created an age earlier, giving you access to some proper siege for use with offensive pushes during the classical age. Perhaps giving even more viability to this classical aggro idea is Ullr's technology Ring Oath, which reduces the favor cost of recasting the Asgardian Bastion power by 60%, making it much more feasible to use multiple times in the classical age, either for setting up powerful defenses for an economic-focused game, or for establishing dominant map control in an aggressive fashion. This tech is also just going to be insane as the game progresses, I have to imagine. Having hill forts all over the map because of this god power is going to make it extremely annoying to press an attack on Freyr. Ullr's last miscellaneous tech is called Servants of Glory, which increases the speed of longhouse units by 5% and gives them a brief, stronger movement speed buff after they've been idle. So just a nice little military bonus. Finally, Ullr's myth unit is the Draugr, an undead archer that fires arrows that pierce through enemies with a special ability that shoots a large spread of arrows. This unit has an upgrade called Volgaldr, which increases its attack by 20% and gives it extra range and line of sight. I can't comment too much on its power, but the Draugr is most definitely fun to use, and its piercing projectiles have a very high damage potential. Moving on to the heroic age, newly added is Aegir, god of sea and storms. Aegir's god power is Tempest, which creates a hailstorm in a selected area, damaging enemies and slowing their attack and movement speed. It's of similar use to flaming weapons, being an offensive power that is good for turning a fight, with Tempest also making it difficult for opponents to actually leave the fight because of its movement slowing effect. Aegir's myth unit is the Rock Giant. This is a huge, bulky unit that can tank a lot of damage and does very well against buildings, even more so after being upgraded with the Granite Maw tech, which gives the Rock Giant 20% more damage and lets it regenerate when damaging buildings. Cool idea, and also makes for an extremely obnoxious unit. If the enemy doesn't have heroes, this thing never dies while attacking buildings. Aegir's first unique technology is Feasts of Renown, which enables town centers and hill forts to heal nearby units and adds a food trickle from each one. This is yet another defense rewarding tech, letting units heal after taking fights, and making Freyr's economy stronger the more town centers and hill forts you have. This is one to keep an eye on. I think this tech could be broken, although maybe I'm overestimating its value. Next, 9 Waves is a technology that gives all heroes and siege weapons 10% extra movement speed and 20% extra damage, which doubles down on the hill fort damage bonus for siege, as well as the hero buff from Freyr's gift, which I think probably gives Freyr some of the strongest hero and siege play in the game, as far as the Norse are concerned at any rate. Lastly is Aegir's naval tech, one of which all of the heroic age gods have. This one is called Grasp of Ran, which occasionally summons krakens near enemy ships that the Norse dragon ships are attacking. And that's kind of all there is to it. Free krakens. Who's gonna complain about free krakens? The mythical age minor god unique to Freyr is Vidar, the god of vengeance and resilience. Vidar's god power is Inferno, which says that the great wolf Fenrir will emerge and charge, engulfing enemies in flames before erupting into an apocalyptic inferno. And just look at this. Like, oh my god, this god power is brutal. It is definitely the most awesome thing I've seen in this game so far. Vidar's myth unit is Fafnir, a wingless dragon that deals area damage with its fire breath attack. It's a really awesome myth unit, kinda like a fire-breathing Hydra, but it does come with the caveat that it gives whoever kills it gold. I guess it's meant to be a very statistically strong unit for its cost that rewards the enemy for killing it. Strong in the short term, but you lose value once these units start going down. Vidar's first unique tech is Twilight of the Gods, which gives human soldiers a 10% HP buff and gives them more damage against heroes. So here's your out to any kind of hero spam, maybe an out to Ragnarok? Nah, no chance. Next is Avenging Spirit, a tech that increases the damage of Herseer as they fight, increasing by 20% up to 60% after reaching certain thresholds of damage inflicted, which is an effect with insane potential, giving Herseer with the effect maxed out a massive 24 base attack. If you look at this line of Herseer at the 4 stages of the buff, you can also see that their hammers get bigger with each damage buff, which is pretty funny. It looks quite goofy when they're attacking something with these huge hammers, but it's fun, and I love stuff like this. Vidar's last 2 techs are both focused on berserks. The first, Silent Resolve, slowly increases the attack of berserks when they are idle, capping at what looks like around 4 extra damage, at least in this example, and gradually fading over time. Adding on top of that, the second tech, called Fury of the Fallen, grants berserks a temporary stacking 15% damage boost when a nearby military unit dies, and stacks at least 6 or 7 times, which I found out with this little test of mine, otherwise known as deleting units. And that's going to do it. That is everything about the new god Freyr and the 3 minor gods currently unique to him. Almost everything new that I talked about supports a defensive, reactive playstyle, which I definitely think is how Freyr is designed to be played. The defensive god powers and slow tech buildup, as well as even unit upgrades and economic techs, all reward waiting and reacting and slowly building up map control with strong fortifications. I think the devs did a great job making Freyr stand out among the existing gods in Age of Mythology. There are a lot of awesome ideas here, which I'm excited to try out more on the ladder. If I play and find out that Freyr is just absolutely and totally broken, maybe we'll even have a follow-up video. For now though, that's going to be all. If you guys know and like this game and enjoyed the video, I would appreciate any suggestions for future topics to cover. I've got some video ideas, but I'm definitely still looking for inspiration. With that said, I'm out. I will see you in the next one.